welcome everyone to another episode of my weird little podcast. We are here live from Sin City, Las Vegas. Not live though, because this is pre-recorded. But today we have Patrick.
Hello.
In the other room, and I'm here as well. Tia, you didn't know who I was by now. And I'm sure Pat is very confused why I am wearing earmuffs, even
A
though
little
it
bit.
is like 97 degrees here in Las Vegas. Well, okay, so my story today is on Frozen Dead Guy Days. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of Frozen Dead Guy Days, came across this festival. So I'll get into what that's about in a little bit. But this is how I found out about this whole story. I kind of knew a little bit about this story before. I have done an episode on cryogenics uh, before. I believe I talked about Walt Disney being his frozen head, apparently. People think that Walt Disney is frozen cryogenically. He is not. He's actually buried at the Forest Lawn Memorial Cemetery in Los Angeles, which Pat and I have been to. If you get a chance, go visit there. Also, Hollywood Forever Cemetery is another great cemetery to check out if you are in LA. But yes, Walt Disney is buried. He is not frozen. There's also that internet conspiracy theory, I guess you'll call it, that Walt Disney or the movie Frozen chose the title of Frozen so that when you would Google Walt Disney or Disney Frozen, that would come up instead of this theory that, or this conspiracy theory that Walt Disney is frozen. You know, I don't know.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard that?
No, no.
Oh, but yeah, that's like a theory that they titled that movie Frozen. I guess because that movie could really be titled anything with the concept of it. So, anyways, getting into it, um, I got most of my information, of course, from Wikipedia, also from Uncover Colorado, FrozenDeadGuyDays.com, which, if you are interested in this festival that I'm going to end up talking about, you can definitely check it out. It is an annual event. Legendsofamerica.com and the Funeral Law blog. So most of what I'm going to talk about today has to do with cryogenics. Some of you probably have a vague idea of what cryogenics is. Basically, the idea of instead of being buried, you're going to freeze your body in hopes that in the future you will be thawed out and brought back to life and get to experience life in, whatever hundreds of years from now in the future. Now, this is a very flawed concept. I'm sure you could already think of how many things could go wrong with freezing your body and, popping up into the future. But anyways, cryogenics is the science that addresses the production and effect of very low temperatures. The word originates from the Greek word cryos, meaning frost, and genic, meaning to produce. So, under such a definition, it could be used to include all temperatures below the freezing point of water. It can be used to produce cryogenic field for rockets, in MRI machines that use liquid helium and require cryogenic cooling, storing large quantities of food, special effects fog, which you are very familiar with, and recycling, freezing blood and tissue samples, and even cooling superconductors. So cryogenics is used in a lot of different things, and it's very scientific. Cryonics is a little bit different, but here's all the definition of all different types of cryo, this and that. Cryogenics, so the branches of engineering that involve the study of very low temperatures, ultra low temperatures, i.e. below 123 Kelvin. If you're a scientist, you probably know what that means. I'm going to guess it means very cold. So how to produce them and how materials behave at those temperatures. So cryobiology, the branch of biology involving the study of the effects of low temperatures on organisms, most often for the purpose of achieving cryopreservation. Okay, so that's cryobiology. Cryoconservation of animal genetic resources is the conservation of genetic material with the intention of conserving a breed. So they do freeze, genetic tissue for animals to just, to save, animals that are just going to go extinct. Cryosurgery is the branch of surgery applying cryogenic temperatures to destroy and kill tissue. Example, cancer cells. Cryoelectronics is the study of electronic phenomena at cryogenic temperatures. Examples including superconductivity and variable range hopping. But cryonics is really what I'm going to get into. So cryonics or is the cryopreserving of human and animals with the intention of future revival. Cryogenics is sometimes erroneously used to mean cryonics in popular culture and the press. So sometimes you'll hear people kind of use either one. Cryonics is really the actual term for it, for freezing humans or pets, so that one day in the future we can, be thawed out and come back to life. So, cryonic procedures can begin only after the patients are clinically and legally dead. So you can't freeze a person who's still alive. They have to be dead. Now, cryonic procedures may begin within minutes of death, and it's usually a good idea for that so that rotting and rigor mortis don't start to happen. And the use of cryoprotectants to try to prevent ice formation during cryopreservation. So freezing, you can actually destroy your cells. So they try to have that not happen. But this is such like a flawed idea, because really you can't freeze somebody and bring them back to life. There's going to be so much damage done to the body through this process that it's like virtually impossible. But there are people who truly believe in this, and it's just such a wild concept, because people like life is just so precious that like people really want to hold on to it, and death is scary and they want to know that they can come back, so that's why people truly believe in this, but it really honestly is not possible as of yet. But I guess we'll see as the future moves forward. It is like I was about to say, it is, however, not possible for a corpse to be reanimated after undergoing vitrification, as this causes damage to the brain, including its neural circuits. So, cryonicists argue that as long as the brain structure remains intact, there is no fundamental barrier given our current understanding of physical law to recover its information content. So even if you were able to come back to life, it's not to say that your brain would be working, or even that the concept of the soul or, your thoughts, your memories and things would be able to come back, But that, like, as far as I know, this is something that we don't fully understand quite yet either. Like really what makes a person, what makes consciousness, something that we're still probably figuring out, cryonics go further than the mainstream consensus in saying that the brain does not have to be continuously active to survive or retain memory. Cryonics controversially states that a human survives even within an intact brain that can be badly damaged, provided that original encoding of memory and personality can, in theory, be adequately inferred and reconstituted from what structure remains. So cryonics uses temperatures below negative 130 Celsius, called cryopreservation. It is an attempt to preserve enough brain information to permit the future revival of the cryopreserved person. Cryopreservation may be accomplished by freezing with cryptoprotectants to reduce ice damage, or vitrification by vitrification to avoid ice damage. Ooh, I've got a cat jumping on my computer right now. Even using the best methods, cryopreservation of whole bodies or brains is very damaging and irreversible with technology. So, like I said, basically, as science is now, even if you are frozen, you're going to be fully damaged in one way or another, and it is impossible to say whether or not that damage can be reversed. Your brain is even going to be able to be revived. Is this even going to be possible? But so that brings us to the Life Extension Society. So Life Extension Society, with its network of coordinators, was the first cryonics organization in the world and was founded in 1964 to promote cryonic suspension of people. Now, their very first frozen guy was in 1965. So the LES offered the opportunity to preserve one person free of charge, stating that the Life Extension Society now has primitive facilities for emergency short-term freezing and storing our friend, the large homotherm, which is, I guess, a person. So the LES offers to freeze free of charge the first person. And this person was a man named Bedford. Shoot. Damn, I don't have his name. Okay. I should have read my notes before this. Bedford. Oh, okay. So in June 1965, the Life Extension Society offers the opportunity to freeze their very first person. So it's going to be free of charge. The Life Extension Society, or the LES, states that the Life Extension Society now has primitive facilities for emergency short-term freezing and storing our friend, the large homotherm, which is a man. LES offers to freeze free of charge the first person, Darius, and in need of cryogenic suspension. So James Hiram Bedford, he was an American psychology professor at the University of California. He wrote several books. He is their first person to be frozen. So Bedford, though, did not actually take this opportunity. He actually used his own funds. He had suffered from kidney cancer that later metastasized to his lungs, a condition that was untreatable at the time. So he died in 1967 at 73 years old. He had left $100,000 to cryonic research in his will, but more than this amount was utilized by Bedford's wife and son in court because they had to defend his will and his cryopreservation against arguments created by other relatives. Bedford's body was frozen with the hopes of future revival. The freezing occurred within 2 hours of his death, which he ended up passing away from cardiorespiratory arrest. So he is their very first person frozen. As far as I know, he is still frozen. But that brings us to how I even got interested in cryonics whatsoever. So back a couple months ago on Facebook, I kept seeing these posts for Frozen Dead Guy Days, and I have no idea why this was coming up on my Facebook. I mean, I could make a couple educated guesses. Like, I'm constantly looking into like Days of the Dead or, you know, other sort of like horror festivals around. But I kept seeing this post for Frozen Dead Guy Days, and I was very curious, like, what even was this? Because I had never heard of it before. And so we'll get into it. So Frozen Dead Guy Days, the Frozen Dead Guy that is being talked about is this man. His name was Morris Stoll. That was his last name, but he was also known as Grandpa Bredo. He lived a rather unremarkable life in a coastal suburb of Oslo. So he was born in Isfjorden, Romsdal, in Western Norway on February 28, 1900. Bredo Morstel married his wife Anna in the late 1920s, and the couple had 2 children. Working as the head of Parks and Recreation until his retirement in 1967, Bredo was fond of painting, fishing, hiking, and skiing. So pretty much normal guy. Nothing too remarkable, like was said about him. He passed away during a nap in November 6th of 1989. Now, his grandson, Tragiv, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm sorry. I am not good with Norwegian, but it's spelled Trygve. Tragiv Bulge. That is my best guess there. Was and still is passionate about life extension. And he saw his grandfather's death as an opportunity to experiment with cryogenic preservation. So the body was preserved on dry ice for a trip from Norway to California. Dry ice is not how you preserve a body whatsoever for cryonics. It's very unscientific, but none of this is. So it was preserved on dry ice and stored in liquid nitrogen. And then it was stored at the TransTime cryonics facility in San Leandro, California from 1990 to 1993. Now in 1993, Bredo was returned to dry ice and transported to the town of Nederland, where Tragiv and his mother Odd planned to create a cryogenic facility of their own. So he's no longer being held in California. They basically decide to take him on their own, and they're going to do this makeshift cryonics facility in their backyard. So they began to build a disaster-proof house in Nederland. Now, if you are local to Colorado, if you're in the Boulder County area of Colorado, you probably know about this. But if you're not, I guess this might interest you because he is still there in this facility, which I use very loosely. So the gray castle-looking house was to be bomb, earthquake, and fire and flood-proof. So they're building this disaster-proof house. Next to the sturdy structure was a small garden shed where the pair moved their grandfather. So they're staying in this disaster-proof house, and they put Grandpa Brito basically in the garden shed behind. Soon, Grandpa Morsel was joined by another body belonging to a man named Al Campbell from Chicago. I couldn't find much on why they had a second body in this shed. But this is so absurd to me that there's like two frozen people in these people's backyard. They're just like storing bodies just for the fun of it, I guess. But so Maud, okay, where am I at? Baj hopes to constructing a proper cryogenic storage facility. His mother, Odd, she sells her father's house in Norway to help support his business plan, but it was never completed. So they never actually built a proper facility. Bodies in cryogenic suspension are normally kept at about minus 320 degrees, but Morsel and Campbell were held at a balmy minus 109. So for about 6 months, mother and son lived relatively anonymously until Tregev claimed that he would break the world record for ice bathing. So not only is he interested in cryonics, he was also interested in ice bathing. So he invited the local newspaper. He immersed himself in a 15,000 gallon or 1,500 gallon tank of ice water in February of 1994. Under the freezing water for 1 hour and 4 minutes, he did in fact break the world record. But this also gained him some maybe unwanted attention. His visa had run out, and the INS issued a deportation warrant for him. Declaring himself a fugitive of justice, he managed to evade authorities for a little while, but was apprehended in the spring of 1994 and sent back to Norway, leaving his mother behind to finish the house and watch over the two frozen bodies in their backyard. His mother, Odd, was eventually given an eviction notice for having no electricity or plumbing. Afraid that the bodies would melt, she asked the local newspaper to plead her case to town hall. When the reporter told the town clerk about Odd's pleas, all hell broke loose. The mayor, police, the press raced to the property, and the shed was opened and the bodies were discovered on ice. Within 24 hours, the news became an international event, and reports from all over the world were arriving in Netherlands. People were just so fascinated with why these people have two frozen bodies in their backyard. An emergency town meeting was held, and an ordinance passed stating it is illegal to have the whole or any part of a person, body, or carcass of a human being or animal or other biological species which is not alive on one's property, which kind of seems like a no-brainer. So sorry to those listening, you can't have frozen people or animals stored on your property. So Odd was eventually evicted from her home for living in a house with no electricity or plumbing, in violation of local ordinance. So at the time, she told a local reporter about her father's body and those of the other individual. I also heard reports that there were more than just this one other guy on her property. Some of the story is, had some conflicting pieces to it. But the reporter went to the local city hall in order to let them know about Odd's fears that her eviction would cause her father's body to thaw out. So, according to an article, in the February 7th, 1995 of the Denver Post, Odd Morstel was found guilty by a jury of building use and zoning violations. The Nederland town judge ordered her to remove the frozen body of her father from Nederland by March 6th or face 10 days in jail and a $600 fine. So the story caused a sensation, of course, and in response, the city added a broad new provision to the section 734 of its municipal code of keeping of bodies, outlawing the keeping of a whole, or like I said, on your property. So because of the publicity that had written, though, they made an exception for Grandpa Bretto, a quote unquote grandfather clause. So Tregiv secured the services of Delta Tech, a local environmental company, to keep the cryonic facility running. Bo Schaefer, the CEO of Delta Tech, was known locally as the Iceman, and caretaker responsible for transporting dry ice, the dry ice necessary for the cryopreservation to the Icy Institute, something he had done since 1995. In that year, the local Tough Shed supplier and a Denver radio station built a new shed in which to store the body of Bretto. And in fall of 2012, Jane Curtis Gazette and Mike Wooden took over as Bretto's caretaker. They passed the caretaking duties later on to Brad Wickham, a resident of Nederland who is now the current caretaker. So doing some research, I did come across like videos of this guy, Brad Wickham, talking about him taking care of Grandpa Bretto. Basically, what they're doing is they're just keeping him on dry ice in the shed. And every couple weeks, when the dry ice melts out, they just dump more dry ice onto this body. And one thing that Brad Wickham said that I thought was like pretty, I don't know, scary, terrifying, interesting, is that like he hasn't checked on this body, and he was like, it is frozen under there. When I dump the ice on top of the body, it could be breaking the body underneath with the impact of the ice hitting the body. And they ask him like, what is the science behind this? He's like, none of this is scientific. None of this. He thinks this is absolutely absurd. But because of the absurdity of this, visiting Grandpa Bretto and this shed, even though like a lot of people don't even go in, they just go up to the shed, has become kind of this local phenomenon and tourist attraction. And so in 2002, the residents of Nederland started a festival called Dead Guy Days. So once a year, they hold this big festival where they have coffin races, a polar plunge, a frozen t-shirt contest, ice turkey bowling, dead guy tours, brain freeze contests, frozen salmon toss, and ice breakdancing. So the tours of the Tough Shed, where Grandpa is still frozen, were suspended in 2005. They stopped doing that in 2005 after Grandpa's family became frustrated with the frozen dead guy days. So this is not condoned by Bretto's family whatsoever. This is just something that the city decided to capitalize on. But they resumed with the celebration in 2010. Now in 2019, the event had an estimated of 25,000 visitors. Now, although Trigiv and Odd filed a complaint against Nederland involving money and naming rights in 2005, Frozen Dead Guy Days continued to be held annually. Longtime organizer Amanda McDonald partially relinquished ownership and control of the event in 2019. Now, the celebration was last held on March 19th to 20th in 2022 after 2 years hiatus due to the pandemic. But organizers announced that this past year in 2023, which this event just passed in March, that the Dead Guy Days would more or less be canceled, stating that Nederland refused to work with the festival's current owners. However, it was not canceled. It was actually just moved to Estes Park. Now, if you're a spooky, creepy fan like I am, you probably know Estes Park as where the location of the Stanley Hotel is, just north of Denver, about an hour, which totally seems appropriate for this strange event. If you've ever seen The Shining, that was filmed in Estes Park. No, it wasn't filmed in Estes Park. Why am I saying that? But the Stanley Hotel is basically what The Shining is based on. And The Shining has a very much frozen dead guy. Sorry, spoiler alert for the movie. But because the event was so big and Nederland no longer is really involved in the festival, is now going to be at Estes Park. So next year, if you want to attend Frozen Dead Guy Days and have a good Frozen Dead time, you can go to frozendeadguys.com and check out their event. But yeah, that is a very strange story of the Frozen Dead Guy in Nederland, Colorado, and the very weird festival they have in honor of him. So yeah.
Nice.
What do you think? Are you going to be frozen cryonically?
I mean, I'm always one that's like, when they get robotic arms that work, I want one. So like I'm all about futuristic stuff. Like if it was possible, I would totally do it. But yeah, dry ice, that's like definitely destroying tissue.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, like
And
there's
like what a burden to put on people.
and what a
you
weird
know?
what a weird and it's not necessarily tradition being passed down,
Yeah.
but it's more of just like like preserving someone else's sanity, like yeah, we'll continue to do this, I guess.
Yeah.
He's dead though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, although the festival sounds really fun.
Oh no, I want to go. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Is the festival still done in Colorado?
Yeah, like I said, it's in Estes Park now. I want to go just because
Oh,
I want to go
okay.
to Estes Park. That is on my
Right,
bucket
yeah.
list. But yeah, it
And
looks pretty cool. There's like bands, they
what
have
day
a
is it?
parade. What's that?
What's the date for
It's in March.
March? Oh, okay.
Are you
So it's
planning? Are you making plans now?
I mean, kind of sounds fun. Colorado's
No,
not
yeah.
that far. We've been wanting to go to Estes Park anyways. March though seems like, I guess it's probably still cold as shit in March.
Yeah.
It was pretty cold out here in March, so
I
I
mean,
guess that
it's
must
gotta
be
be cold, but not so cold, you know?
right. Well, I mean, you figured frozen fish, polar plunge, frozen t-shirt contest.
Yeah.
It's got to be at least cold, but I'm sure Colorado stays cold for a while,
Are
quite
you
a
gonna
while.
do some frozen turkey bowling?
Wasn't it salmon? Or was there frozen
Salmon
turkey? Did I
toss,
miss that one? Oh,
turkey
salmon toss.
bowling.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
You
I'm more of a salmon toss person.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like some of these activities change, so I can't guarantee that there's going to be a salmon toss next
That's
year.
hilarious.
Sorry if you were.
It might be a salmon t-shirt contest now.
What's the point of going? Oh man. I'm definitely not being frozen. No, that is not going to happen. I
I
don't
would I
know.
would do it if there was like, I don't know, like a remote. sense of science to it, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, yeah, being frozen is still dead. However, there are species of animals that we've figured out, you know, found out in the past 20 years that they found in ice sheets in the Antarctic. And
Mhm.
once they thaw, these animals come back to life. So
That's true. That's true.
it's apparently possible, you know, not necessarily with humans, but in some type of biological creature, you know,
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah.
Who knows in the
And it wouldn't
future?
be in all these futuristic movies if it wasn't like a theory before.
We're so not there yet at
Right.
all.
Not even close.
No.
Yeah. We don't even know what the brain
But
does.
also think about it. Like, what future would you be coming in? Would you be going to? You know, like think of someone from like 100 years ago coming into this future. You wouldn't know how to use the internet. You wouldn't know how to use a phone. You wouldn't know how to get anywhere. Landmarks wouldn't be there. You wouldn't fit into
People
society.
people would assume you're crazy. You'd be
You're
committed like
crazy.
instantly. Yeah.
Uh, you know, m- most of your wealth probably is spent on keeping you frozen. Like, what kind of life is that? You know,
Well,
I
yeah, and
mean,
that's another thing. He donated like 100 grand or something, that guy in the 60s, which is a lot of money back in the
yeah,
day, you know, to a society like that. But that's like such a drop in the bucket. Like
yeah,
how much, I wonder how much money it has cost that family at this point.
yeah,
You know, like just the dry ice deliveries must be a lot, much less an actual scientific
yeah.
approach of having someone sealed in a chamber and cooled, like liquid nitrogen. Like, were they trying to shatter him into several pieces?
I
Because
know,
that's what
right?
nitrogen would do,
Oh
you
yeah,
know? Like,
oh, yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, if science were behind it, I'd be down. But yeah, we're not even close.
No, unfortunately, no, we're not.
Right.
But you know, still gonna go to the festival. I
Right. I'll do the polar plunge. I'll toss some salmon. That sounds fun as hell.
don't really like being cold, but I do like dressing up, and I think dressing up as a frozen person would be pretty cool. I could think of a cool ice princess outfit, you know, maybe. I don't know. You know,
I'd go as Elsa, but just Jack Nicholson's face with like every with the icicles, you know.
oh, frozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I just want to see you dressed as Elsa.
No,
Honestly.
I want to like wear like, you know, the costume, but then Jack Nicholson's face.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Awesome. We'll be Frozen, Dead, Elsa, and Anna. I think yeah, that's cool.
I'm
Um,
down, yeah.
yeah, do it. Um, all right. So hope you enjoyed that weird story. Um, more to come in the future of other things. If you've ever attended Frozen Dead Guy days, maybe send us some pictures, email us, let us know. What do you think? If you have any more suggestions on stories, please email us at myweirdlittlepodcast@gmail.com. You can message me on Instagram at myweirdlittlepodcast. On TikTok, I'm on the social medias. Find me. I exist. I swear. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Stay warm and stay spooky. Ooh.